Hello my darlings, I hope you're all doing very well. In today's video I will be reacting to a video that popped up on my home feed on Tuesday and I got very intrigued by it, especially from the title. The title of the video is "My Tattoo Caused Me Chronic Pain and Depression," and this is by the channel The Legit Creep. I obviously haven't watched it and I thought it'd be a good video to react to because I've never heard of anything like this before. I'm very interested to see what this video is about. The Legit Creep makes body modification videos, so about tattoos, piercings, all of that fun stuff, and I had a quick scroll through like their content and their about bit, and then I looked on their Instagram. The Legit Creep doesn't have their name mentioned anywhere or their pronouns, and I just want to quickly put this out here. I don't think I've ever fully addressed this in a video, but about a year or so ago, maybe 2 years ago, year and a half, I don't know, I started using inclusive language, and every now and then someone will get annoyed at the fact that I do that, but I wanted to implement inclusive language into my videos just to make it a bit more normal, you know? So from like a year or so ago, if I don't know someone's pronouns, I will use they, them. This is the case for this. I did it in my recent videos about Tattoo-gate and I got a comment being like, why are you saying they, them? It's clearly a she, her or whatever. Just because someone looks a certain way to you doesn't mean that that person goes by the pronouns that you think they should go by. So I will be saying they, them in here because I couldn't find any pronouns anywhere or a name. Just letting you know. This video from The Legit Creep, it's over an hour long. So get comfy, get cozy, get your snacks and your beverages. We are gonna deep dive into this video and see what it's all about. Okay, let's do this.
Today's video is going to be very different to what I normally have scheduled on my channel. It's a video that I actually never thought I would film, a video I never thought I would talk about, because it makes me feel really uncomfortable. I also just would like to add that this video is going to get into a lot of like mental health discussion, so if that is something that you don't feel comfortable with, I would suggest just don't watch it because there's a few different mental health issues that I discuss. This video will be about how I got a tattoo that caused me chronic pain and depression.
Wow, okay, so I feel like this video is going to be pretty heavy, so I guess this is a trigger warning for anyone that might be affected by this. I will say outright here and now, there was a time in my life I would avoid videos like this where people would mention depression, anxiety, mental health issues, right? Because for the majority of my life, I was in denial about my mental health struggles. I was that person that would always trooper on and pretend it didn't exist. So I would avoid stuff like this because it would make me feel a certain type of way. Completely appreciate the warning there, and I'm glad it's like at the beginning of the video. But at the minute, I'm all good with watching it because I'm not in denial about my mental health struggles anymore. I'm like, okay, yeah, I have depression and anxiety. I'm sure if you've watched my videos for a while, you'll know this, but yeah. I'm glad that's there, so you know.
These are two things I had never experienced in my entire life, and these, along with other mental illnesses, came along after I got my entire back tattooed.
Oh my goodness. Wow. I've never heard of something like that before. I've heard of people feeling, you know, depressed over a tattoo they've got because they regret it or what have you, which might be the case here, I don't know. So I'm very intrigued to see how this has come about.
I just personally don't love putting, you know, emotional strain on people or telling people my burdens or like telling people things that are gonna make them feel uncomfortable because the story I'm telling them is like a sad and painful journey. And I know that so many people won't understand, so I'm like, what is the fucking point? That's how I see it. I literally am just like, why should I tell people? Because they're not gonna understand anyway.
Oh gosh, I mean, I relate so much because like I said, I was in denial about my mental health struggles for so many years. So I've always been an anxious kid. I think I've had anxiety since I fell out the womb basically, but I didn't really know what it was until I was much older. And then with depression, that kind of hit me when I was about 18, but I didn't say anything to anyone until I was 29 because I just wanted to be normal, you know, or normal, whatever normal is nowadays. And still to this day, I mean, I'm getting a lot more comfortable with talking about it, mainly when I'm filming videos, not so much in real life. I kind of just, you know, keep quiet about it.
3 years ago, I got my back tattooed. I got an
wow.
ornamental line work piece that covers essentially my entire back. However, I did have a piece in the center of my upper back, which was a space piece, which was essentially all shading. Yes, there was some line work, but it's pretty thin line work, and the rest of it is completely shaded. But this ornamental piece is just
That's
line
gorgeous.
work. And that was what it was always intended to be.
I love how the old tattoo has been mushed into the new tattoo, and it kind of makes sense. It doesn't look out of place. It looks like it's a part of the tattoo, and that back piece is freaking gorgeous. That's a bit of me. I love bold outline tattoos so dang much, and that is beautiful.
A lot of people seem to judge me for doing it as if it was spur of the moment, as if I went overseas. I get this comment all the time, oh, what country did you get it done in? I got it done in Australia. I got it done in Brisbane. I literally got it done in a capital city at a reputable studio by a reputable artist who had been tattooing for 15 years. I just want to get that out of the way, because the amount of people who have asked me, like, they just assume that because something fucked happened with it, that it was someone like in a third world country or something, which, like, thanks for the judgment, but like, no, I didn't do any of that. I did my research. I found someone who had done work like this before, and it just went really fucking bad.
Holy hell. I don't know what went wrong with it to be bad, because it looks good from the photos that we've seen. So I'm like, what happened to make it bad? What happened to lead to this video? Because it doesn't look like a bad quality tattoo from the photos that we've seen, and it sounds like they're very well educated on tattoos and piercings. They are a professional piercer just by looking at their YouTube about section, so I'm sure they're very well educated on, you know, what's a dodgy tattoo artist or studio and what isn't. I fully trust them on that.
So I had the back of my neck and then onto the center of my upper back tattooed already, and I didn't have any problems with them. They were fine, which I guess leads me to the tattoo. So I got the tattoo done, and when I tell you it was excruciating to get done, I know tattoos are painful. Tattoos are painful, it's just how they are. But the level of pain for this was like unmatched to what it should have been.
I feel like they already knew something was up when they were getting the tattoo. I have had my back tattooed multiple times. Like, the majority of my back is covered. The longest session I ever had on my back was 7 hours. And it was painful, but not the most painful tattoo I've ever been through. The most, obviously, is my palm. Like, that, no. It depends per person, though, when it comes to back. Some people are like, no, it was like the easiest tattoo I've ever been through. And then other people will be like, that was the most horrific tattoo I've ever been through. For me, personally, near the spine area is horrific. And then near the rib area is also really bad. I feel like my skin just feels a bit thinner over the rib area, and it's a little bit more sensitive.
I've had other supposed painful areas tattooed, aka my feet, my back, my neck. Those are areas that a lot of people agree are painful, but like, this was just another level, and this was just like excruciating. It was very painful.
Okay, that does give me like a little bit of a red flag moment. Not for what they're saying, their pain is very valid, but it shouldn't be excruciating. I mean, again, tattoos are very painful, but like, to be excruciating? Damn, okay.
And I know I'll get people saying that their back didn't hurt or whatever, and this is obviously a huge reason as to why I never wanted to make a video like this, is because of some of the comments I'll get of just people being fucking ignorant. Like, I'm not asking you how yours went. I'm not asking you to brag about how easy your back tattoo was or how like easy your tattoo experiences have been. I don't actually fucking care.
That's understandable. I mean, I'm going in this blind. I don't know what's up or what have you, but I feel like they've probably been through a lot of things right now. I can sense the like tension, and something's telling me that what they've been through is not normal, and I'm quite scared, because it makes me worried about like, what are we about to hear, you know?
After the tattoo, we'd done like majority of it, but it was like the end of the day, so it's not that I tapped out. I went home, I washed the tattoo, I put on a tattoo ointment that I had used multiple times on many other tattoos on my body, and I had never experienced any kind of adverse effects. And I just want to say this to just like put it out there that it wasn't an allergic reaction from this.
Okay, so they're saying that they haven't had an allergic reaction from the tattoo or anything that they've used to look after the tattoo. I have used an array of tattoo aftercare creams and ointments and what have you. And normally if you don't have a reaction from one tattoo, you're probably not going to have a reaction on the next tattoo. You know, you would know pretty quickly if you're allergic to something.
You know what it's like when you go home after a tattoo and you sleep with it, and it's just always uncomfortable, and that's what it was like, and it's painful, it's just going to be, but that pain just like never subsided. The pain should like gradually go away. Like the first night's the worst. The tattoo still hurts for a few days, but it's nothing crazy, and the pain was not leaving, it just remained.
What? No way. What? Oh my goodness. I can't fathom that at all. Because yeah, the first night, 2 nights, 3 nights, 4 or what have you are normally the worst. But they're saying it didn't go? For how long? Oh my God.
I would put the ointment on, an ointment which had caused no issues to any other tattoo I'd had for years, and it felt like I was literally putting acid on my skin. It just burned and burned and burned, and it would burn for 30 minutes after I put it on.
Oh my God. I can't even think of any logical explanation as to why that would happen. Again, they've used it before, never had any issues. The only thing I can think of is the ink at this point. Like there's maybe something in the ink that the tattoo artist used. What? I don't know. Or it could be maybe out of date, or it could be a dodgy ink, you know, like I don't obviously want to accuse anyone of anything, but there's a chance that maybe this ink that was used was a cheap ink, you know, like the ones that I review from Amazon and what have you when I do my Amazon tattoo machine reviews, and I'm always like, watch out for the ink, because you never know what's in there. There could be like lead and all sorts in there, right? That's the only thing I can think of, but as they have said, this tattoo artist has been tattooing for 15 years. It was like a reputable place, so I highly doubt that.
And I would put the ointment on and I would lay just like with no top on, and I can't even really show you, but I would lay like this flat on my back, just like crying because it was so painful, and it just felt like burning and itching, and I knew this wasn't right. Itching for like healing tattoos is completely normal. I get that. I've had it a million times before. But when I say to you that this itching was like the most excruciating pain I've ever felt at the time, but it was itching, I mean it.
Oh my gosh. Like they said, I'm going to repeat what they said, but again, like they said, healing a new tattoo, you do get that itchy phase. It is the worst phase for me personally. I freaking hate it. But yeah, the only thing I feel like this is like a chemical reaction or something to the ink so far. Again, it might lead into something else, but this sounds very just intense, you know?
The itching was like, I can't even explain it. I just can't. I can't explain how bad this itching was, but it just fucking, like, it hurt so much.
Oh God, I feel so bad for them. I can't even imagine what that feels like. I've never had anything go wrong with tattoos. I've been tattooed a lot, obviously, and I've been very lucky. I've never had an infection or any reactions. The only thing I struggle with a little bit is red ink, but I'm not allergic to it. It just takes a little bit longer for me to heal. Other than that, I've been very, very lucky. And it just, watching stuff like this just makes you think, God, you know, they did everything right. They went to a reputable tattoo artist with 15 years experience, but it makes you think, oh God, like this could just happen to anyone, whatever it is that is going on here.
So at this point, I went to the doctor because like I was pretty sure my tattoo was infected, and I was like, it's gotta be. I've never had an infected tattoo in my life, and I thought it was wild that this could happen considering I always looked after my tattoos. I was like, it's infected for sure. Like there's no other explanation.
The thing I'll say though, with infections, you normally feel unwell with them, you know, like your skin gets hot and then you start to get an oozing, and then, you know, it can sometimes lead into feeling unwell, like temperature, sweatiness, nausea, and they haven't mentioned anything about that, but I'm glad that they went to the doctor to just get it checked out. And also with this being on their back, you can't really see what's going on behind there, right? Like I've said, I've had my back tattooed. But yeah, if you feel like there's something up with your new tattoo, it does not hurt to go to the doctor, of course, or to talk to the tattoo artist or any tattoo artist you can get a hold of.
I went to the doctor. The doctor had a really good look at it and was like, this isn't infected. There's no signs of infection here. Because normally it's raised and there's redness and it can be seeping and like bubbling. Like there's many factors that show that it is infected. And it didn't have any of those signs.
Wow, okay. So this kind of leads me to the fact that it might not be the ink, because if there's no redness, no signs of like infection or irritation, then it can't be the ink, right? Because there's nothing there to say that there is, you know, the normal telltale signs anyway. What is happening? The only other thing I can think of is this artist was heavy-handed. That's the only other thing I can think of. And there is like some severe scarring happening here. Other than that, I'm stumped.
It's not an infection, so what is going on? Because I've never experienced any of this. So I emailed the shop to get the professional opinion, because doctors don't understand anything about tattooing. They have no idea. And I have learned that. They don't understand how it works. They don't understand what has happened, how it heals. Nothing is understood.
I can't say I can completely vouch for what they're saying, because I've never been in the situation. I've never had to go to the doctor for a tattoo. But the majority of doctors, unless they have tattoos themselves, they don't know about tattoos, okay? I feel like they should learn about tattoos in some way. I don't know, even if it's like a half a day course or what have you, just to know how they work. It would probably be incredibly helpful.
I emailed them and the owner got back to me, because this artist didn't deal with their own like emails and communication and stuff. It was all done through the shop, and just explained that I've got black work and mine took like 6 months to heal. It's totally normal for it to take 6 months to heal. Give it a few months and it will get better.
No. What? No, absolutely not. It does not take black work 6 months to heal. No. How can you hire someone that does not know about tattooing in a tattoo environment, workplace situation? Absolutely not. The average time it takes for a tattoo to heal, obviously it depends per person, but I want to say it's around about 2 weeks to a month, depending on so many factors. There's no point in me going into all of that. I would say 8 weeks top for the tattoo to, you know, be fully healed. You will, after that 2 month period, sometimes have like a shiny phase, is what I call it, where the tattoo looks a bit shiny. It's not fully settled in, but you have no scabs, no itching normally, and all of that. But the first initial healing doesn't take 6 months. What? There ain't no way there's a professional or someone working for a professional giving out this kind of advice. That's terrible. To just brush this person off like that. Like if that was me, if I was working for a tattoo artist and I had come across an email like this, I'd be like, that don't sound right. Come in so we can have a look at it, kind of thing.
Which I now since have had quite thorough black work done. Like this is all black.
Gorgeous.
And I didn't see it taking 6 months to heal. No.
Yeah, that is weird to say 6 months. That is a huge faux pas on that person's part. Could you imagine if whatever is happening with them was like life-threatening, you know? And they're just being brushed off like that? That does not sit right with me at all.
Foolish me went back and got the bits like on my shoulders done. Same thing basically, same level of pain, but it was over a lot quicker. Like it only took an hour. I guess I didn't get into like a deep seething pain kind of thing. So while I was there, I like told the artist that it was like painful and itchy, and they just kind of like didn't really like give it much thought or discussion behind that. It was sort of like brushed off.
Oh my god. Okay, this does not sit right with me at all. Like, no. This artist doesn't seem to have compassion or any sort of care about their client. There's a couple of tattoo artists that I've been tattooed by who I would literally die for, because I know that they are the sweetest, kindest, most wholesome, kind and caring tattoo artists ever. And if I went to them with a tattoo problem from a tattoo I've got from them, I know, would do anything in their power to help me and advise me in any way, shape or form that they could. And I would hope there's a lot more tattoo artists like that. And to hear that this happened to them while they're going through something so painful, and the artist is like, okay, yeah, whatever, anyway. You know, like, that's horrible. Like, if I was a tattoo artist, I wouldn't want any of my clients going through prolonged pain. Like, obviously, I know tattoos hurt, but this is clearly something deeper, and I would be very concerned, and I'd want answers too. I'd be like, okay, like, what's wrong? Like, what's happening here? Let's try and figure this out and see if we can help you in any way, because that's like one of my clients, you know. I don't know, this is, ooh. There's a weird taste in my mouth about the whole thing.
Okay, so like the one person like who could explain this to me like just doesn't want to or isn't going to. Sort of just said like that it looked fine, so it'll be okay. Why is everyone telling me that it looks fine? I'm aware I can see it, but I'm telling you what it feels like. You're not fucking living inside this fucking vessel.
That is so frustrating. I hate that when you have to try and explain to someone how you feel and you know they don't get it. So you just feel like, what's the fucking point? Like, why do I even bother? But yeah, the one person that should be helping them in this moment is not helping them, and that is really sad. And they're saying that the tattoo looks fine, so I'm guessing the bottom half that was done was obviously healed, and then they went back for the top half, and that would be the new part. So if it looks fine, then it's something deeper, right? I'm stumped on this.
So at this point, multiple people had convinced me that like it's all good, do not worry. From there, things only took a turn for the worse. The healing for that area was the exact same. However, this time I even used a different ointment because I was like, maybe it is an allergic reaction and maybe that was completely my fault. Used a different ointment, felt the same. The burning, the acid feeling, the itching, all of it was on point, the exact same thing.
There's definitely something deeper going on here, because they've had their back tattooed before with no problem, because they had that like bit in the middle by the shoulder blades, and they've not said that they had any issues with that. So it's not a placement thing, probably not the ink, it's definitely not an infection, because again, like they said earlier, they would have had other symptoms. What is this? I've got a feeling it's something to do with the artist somehow. I don't know.
And I know people will say in the comments that that sounds like an allergic reaction to the ink, which yes, in many ways it really does, and I thought that as well. However, normally when you have an allergic reaction to the ink, it bubbles and it goes red and it seeps. It can look similar to an infection.
Yeah, that is true. I'm just trying to think, what could this be? I mean, I'm not a medical professional, I'm not a tattoo artist or anything like that, but this has totally stumped me. I still am leaning towards the fact that the ink could have been defective in some way, but then you would get the other symptoms like the bubbling and the irritation, unless it's a combination of dodgy ink and then the tattoo artist being heavy-handed and then the ink has gone further down the skin epidermis than it should have, and that's irritated something into something so painful, and because it's so deep down in the skin it hasn't come up to the surface, if that makes any sense. I don't know. Again, not a medical professional. I'm thinking out loud at this point.
So a few weeks on, I don't know the exact timeline of when these things started, but I was still feeling that like constant pain, constant itching. Like that just wasn't going anywhere. And I'd stopped using any tattoo ointments because I didn't need to use them anymore. Anything that would touch the tattoo area would just burn. No matter what it was, it just would always burn. After the tattoo had healed, I wasn't even like using soaps on my back anymore. I just like stopped washing my back. But I mean, how dirty does a back get? I just wash it with water because like soap was just irritating it.
I've literally never heard of anything like this in my whole entire life. At the beginning stage of healing a tattoo, you get the mild discomfort, but it sounds like they are in excruciating pain all the time, which is not normal. And I have never heard of that unless someone has a tattoo infection, and a very bad one at that. I'd like to know if any of you have ever experienced something like this before. Please comment down below.
And my memory has just gotten so bad as well. Like I can't remember anything. I didn't really think about what would happen when I would talk about this. Like talk about the whole scenario, the whole story, everything. But like it often happened, like it happens so much more when everything started and I started going downhill with my mental health, and my mental health started getting really bad. I would just like stop mid-conversation and I just couldn't even remember what I was talking about.
I relate to this so much. I have a terrible memory. You can ask anyone that knows me. My memory is so shockingly bad, and it's been getting worse and worse as I've got older. Again, it's due to depression and anxiety, and you know, your brain just doesn't hold information. And half the time I'm not present, if that makes sense. I'm an overthinker. I'm constantly in my head thinking. My brain is constantly like going at 100 miles an hour, right? So I never really take anything in. And because they've been going through a lot by the sounds of things, they're probably in the same mind frame as well. Like, you're just thinking about everything you're going through, and your brain just does not take in anything, and you end up... I do it when I'm filming videos. Oh my god. The amount of times I just all of a sudden just stare off, and I have to cut out a big section because I've just been like talking, and then I'm like... because I'm thinking about something. I can laugh about it, but yeah, I relate.
I just don't like feeling alone in it. That's the worst part about anything to do with mental health, is that you like feel so alone, and you're like, I feel, I mean, for lack of a better word, insane, because I have felt it so often throughout this whole journey, I would call it. Like, I've felt so insane. And I know you shouldn't say that, but like, I don't know how else to explain it.
If that's how you feel, that's how you feel. And I wouldn't judge someone for describing something like that. I mean, maybe it's wrong, I don't know. But as someone that has had mental health struggles for the majority of their life, I'm like, it makes sense to me what they're saying, you know? And what they're saying about feeling alone is so true. And I'd imagine they've gone through most of their life feeling mentally healthy, I guess. I don't want to assume, but they've spent most of their life feeling mentally healthy, and now they're going through mental health struggles, so it's kind of been switched on like that, right? In comparison to someone like me who's kind of been born mentally unwell. I'm used to it. It's always been a gradual, got worse, but for something to just switch like that could be so scary. I can't even imagine feeling okay one day and then, you know, going through something and then just not feeling okay. It makes me think, wow, I feel... God, this is so sad and depressing, but I feel kind of lucky that mine has always been in my life and, you know, gradually got worse, so it's not so noticeable.
I'm going to get my diary that had like notes, because I started taking notes.
That's a good idea.
On my symptoms and my pain and everything, because I was just like, what is going on? This is out of control.
That is such a good idea to take notes like that, because it's a good way to look back and see, you know, if you've had good days, bad days, if there's anything that's triggered anything at all. And that can also help medical professionals, and you've got it all written down there as proof as well.
2020, welcome to the worst year of my entire life. It was a month and 2 weeks in when I started writing in this about how I was feeling. And then my arms started going numb.
What? Arms started going numb? This has to be nerve damage then, surely. I'm thinking nerve and muscle damage at this point now. I've literally never heard of anything like this before, ever, from a tattoo. I have made tattoo content for 8 years. I have, you know, done a ton of research on things. I've watched a ton of things. I've never heard of anything like this before.
And I'd have to like wake up all throughout the night with numb arms and try and get like the feeling back into my arms, which is really hard when your arm can't even lift up because it's like so numb. And that really started to freak me out, because I was like, why my arm's going numb for? What's going on here? That was terrifying.
That would freak me the hell out too. I wouldn't know what to do in this situation. Like, I would quite literally have a full-blown anxiety / panic attack if I woke up with numb arms, right? Like, I'd be like, what is happening to me? Is there something wrong with me? Do I need to call an ambulance?
The pain and burning was like constant, but then like the pain started to change. Like, it started to feel like ant bites, and particularly like on these sides, it felt like I had ants biting me like off like most of the time.
Oh my god. And I'm guessing this is after the tattoo was healed. So yeah, it's something so much deeper. And like, do you have like lymph nodes in this area? I'm not sure. I know it's in your armpit, but they pointed out just like here. I don't know if there's lymph nodes there. So is it something to do with that? I know when you do get tattooed and your body heals the tattoos, the excess ink that goes into your system does travel all around. And I think it does end up in like your lymph node areas. And this is why there was concerns about tattoo ink causing cancer and all of that. So this again makes me think, is it the ink again? But then there's other signs to say that it wasn't. Oh my gosh. I've never been so baffled by something in my whole life.
And pain on my spine as well. And particularly like the doctor would like press on the discs, I guess it is. And like there'd be like particular ones that like hurt the most. But those all had the most like densely packed tattooing on them as well. I just couldn't understand because it was like, this was like weeks and weeks after the tattoo was completely healed. Somehow I was experiencing all these sensations.
I can't even... I'm literally speechless. The part in me that always wants to help people, especially with tattoos and stuff like that, that's why I started my YouTube channel. I wanted to help people with tattooing. Not doing tattoos, but as a tattoo client. My videos will always come from a tattoo client's point of view. I just want to help them in some way. Like, I feel helpless. And it's obviously not my place to feel helpless, you know? But I just want to try and help them in some way. Or just think of a logical explanation, and I can't. And I just feel so bad for them that they went through this. Like, this is some serious stuff.
I saw my normal doctor who was just like, no, it's not infected. Nothing's wrong. It's totally fine. And then like I went to another doctor for another opinion. And this one doctor was like, oh, it sounds like you've got MS. We might have to test that. Oh, but like, I'm not going to test it because you don't really have the symptoms.
I'm sorry, what? You cannot just throw that out there to someone and be like, oh, that might be MS, but we're not going to test you for it. I'm sorry. This enrages me so much. I've come across 2 good doctors in my whole entire life, 2. Other than that, every other doctor I've been to has been so dismissive and just... they just don't care. Or I understand from a doctor's point of view sometimes that, you know, they're underpaid, overworked, all of that, but that shouldn't take away from patient care. As a patient, it's not my fault. If that oh, that sounds so cold, I know, but like, for example, I'm trying not to make this all about me, but for example, with what I'm going through at the minute with my RCPD, I went to one doctor, and then this one doctor said I had an infection for a disorder I've had my whole entire life, okay? Please. I just understand this person's frustration so freaking much. I do.
That doctor prescribed me prednisone, and it says that it works on the immune system to help relieve swelling, redness, itching, and allergic reactions. Okay. So I took that, and I think I only took it for like, I swear it was like 5 days or something, but I think it was quite a strong like dosage. And that, look, I'm not going to completely blame that drug because I'm sure a million people have taken it. It could have also just been my mental health declining at the exact same time that I took that. But when I took that, things took an even worse turn.
Oh, wow. Okay. So what they were prescribed sounds like it would have helped what they were going through. So I can understand the doctor's logic in that, but I guess it didn't help at all. So, oh boy.
Basically, yeah, my mind just started being really foggy, and it was never like that before. I was always very clear, so organized. I had schedules. I was getting so much done, and I feel like I was moving so far forward with YouTube as well. Like, I was really dedicated to make it my career, dedicate myself to filmmaking and writing. Like, that was my like goal, and all of this has just sort of like not played out as I thought it would because I sort of got really held back by my mental health.
Oh God, there is nothing worse. I swear, there is nothing worse than when your brain does not want to participate. That's the only way I can explain it. Like, I struggle with it every single day. My mental health has taken a huge decline since becoming chronically ill. Like, I never know if that's the right term for me to use, but I have had an illness for 6+ months at this point. Well, it's a condition I've had all my life, but it got worse 6 months ago to the point where it affects me every single day. And since then, my mental health has been atrocious. And I get it. I truly get it, because like them, I love making content, doing content as my job and about a subject that I'm so passionate about is literally a dream for me. I love it so much, and I am living a life that I've always dreamed of. You know, I have a house that I love. I have a boyfriend that is amazing. My best friend as well, I love her so much, and I have all of these good things in my life, but when your brain doesn't want to do what it's meant to and regulate your emotions, it makes everything so difficult. It sucks. It hurts because you know deep down that you aren't like this, and your brain or whatever it is like sabotaging you or what have you. And it's so frustrating. That's the only way I can explain it. It's just so frustrating when you just don't want to do anything. We feel like you can't do anything, and it's not like laziness. It's just your brain being a menace. That's the only way I can explain it.
I did like I guess it was kind of like a mental health test kind of thing. You tick off like on a scale of 1 to 10 or whatever, how you're feeling. And I was so low at this point. Like I was really not okay. Like I couldn't get out of bed. I'd try and get out of bed and I'd just have to go lay down somewhere because I was just like, I'm not tired, but I like physically cannot exist right now. I don't know how to explain it to you.
No, I get it. Oh my, I have never heard someone explain how my brain feels the most of the time. I've always been a person that naps quite a lot, and it's sometimes because I am tired, but sometimes it's just because not on any kind of unalive thing. You don't need to worry about me, but you just don't want to exist. You just want to slip into a coma, basically. You just don't want to feel anything. You don't want to be doing anything, and the best way to escape life is to fall asleep. And I am prime example of that. Like, I sleep my problems away quite often, and you know, I've always been a person that likes sleep anyway, you know, but if I'm like feeling crap about whatever, 9 times out of 10, I will go and have a nap. It just gives you a break from your brain.
On that sheet, it gave the number, and the number literally said, you need to go to the hospital, because like, I guess how low I was feeling was like indication of like, I'm not going to say the word, but unaliving. I wasn't really having those thoughts per se. I was like, I don't know how long I can do this for, but I wasn't having those thoughts, if you know what I mean. But the test indicated as like, it's dangerously high how low you're feeling.
Wow. Oh my gosh. I know how they're feeling, and I just want to give them a hug. I just want to hold them. And I just still can't believe all of this has stemmed from a tattoo. Like,
the naturopath saw it and goes, oh, I don't think you're that bad. And I was like, well, like, yeah, I don't think I am either. But also, I just did a test with me being completely honest of how I'm feeling, because you said to be. We don't know each other. I've been in this room for like 2 minutes, however long it took me to fill out that thing, and you have assessed, and you know, big naturopath lady, you know so much about me that you can tell that I'm not that bad.
wow. I fully believe that some people should never, ever work in health, mental health, therapy, whatever, right? Because stuff like that could be so freaking dangerous. And just to say, oh, you're not that bad. They're clearly struggling. That's why they've come to you. And you're like, oh, it's not that bad. What? Ugh.
So anyway, old witchy was like, oh, here, take these tablets. This will make it everything better. And like, I hate to say it, but one of them, something in it did kind of clear my head a little bit. And when I mean clear my head, I now know that I was just severely depressed. But because I'd never experienced depression in my life, I didn't know what it felt like.
That can be incredibly freaking scary. Again, like, my depression sort of come about when I was 18, but it was kind of like gradual, what have you. Couldn't imagine it just coming on so suddenly and quickly like that in such a short time frame. Like, that can be freaking terrifying. And especially if you don't know much about mental health struggles or what have you. I can't even imagine, you know?
I genuinely thought depression was just like feeling really sad.
Me too. Me freaking too. And that's why I think I was in denial for a long time, because I didn't have that sadness that everyone thinks that depression is. It's a big misconception. For me, it's just feeling low. It's not sadness, it's just a low feeling and like meh about everything. Just so meh. You know, there's days where like I was saying, I just don't want to do anything. I don't find joy in stuff that I used to find joy in, you know, over the years as it's got worse. It just sucks the life out of you. It's like a leech, okay? There's like a leech in your brain and it's sucking all of the fun out of everything. It's like a big, dark, gloomy cloud that's over your head all the freaking time. And yeah, of course, for me, I have good days and I have bad days. It's not a constant low. You know, there's days where I'm like, oh, you know what? Today's pretty good. You know, I don't feel like I need to sleep for 6 hours throughout the day just to get by. You know, there's days where I feel really productive and I'm really on the ball about things. And then there's other days where the leech is really sucking hard. Sadness thing isn't something I experience, you know. And like, I have not so much emotional numbness. For me, crying is very, very, very hard. I have to get to such a low point for me to cry, or I need to watch a film. Films for me are when I start to feel emotions, and that's when I really cry. And I saw something, oh my god, years ago. It was either someone said it on a TV show or it was a tweet or something, but someone said once that you have to deal with your mental health issues and your emotions, otherwise you'll start crying at stupid shit, because that's the only way you can like release your, you know, whatever's going on inside of you, right? I'm that person that, you know, locked up all of these feelings and emotions, and now I cry at really stupid. I've cried at Sixth Sense, okay? Interstellar. Oh my god, favourite film of all time, but that ruins me. Like, literally, for hours after, sobbing mess. And I don't think I should.
It wasn't a case of like, oh, I just don't want to do that, I'm too sad to do that. I didn't even feel sad. There was no sadness within me at all. Mine was seriously mental and physical, and it literally just slowly like crept up on me. I didn't even know it was happening until it was there. One day I was just deeply depressed and I didn't even realize it was there. And I just thought I had something wrong with my brain, actually.
Oh my god, I relate to that so much. I also, when I started to notice this like depression for myself, I honestly thought there was something else wrong with me. I thought, oh my god, what if I have a brain tumour? Because my brain just didn't feel like it used to when I was like a kid or whatever. Again, I've always had anxiety, but the leech feeling, I didn't have that as a kid. And I always would think, do I have a brain tumour? And I would Google like symptoms for brain tumours, and I never had any of the symptoms, obviously. And it just makes you think, like, what the hell is wrong with me? Like, what is this? Why do I feel like this?
I described symptoms to 2 doctors and a psychologist, and none of them picked up on depression. I think it's because when you meet me, I'm very like, I want to be positive and happy, and I'm nice to people. And I don't want to show any kind of emotion. I think I just like hide it and like try and be like strong.
Me, oh my gosh, I have literally never seen someone describe my life like this before, ever. I literally have goosebumps. I don't know if you'll see them. But I've got like tingles all over my freaking arm. I always, like I said, I was in denial about my mental health struggles for so long because I wanted to be normal and I wanted to be happy. So I would fake it. I would fake it so freaking hard. And I think this is why now that I'm like 33, I'm just freaking exhausted and I will just say how I feel because I'm just tired. I can't fake it anymore. And again, because I've been going through my like chronic illness and whatever, like, I just cannot fake the happiness anymore. I relate to this so much. Like, it's scary. But yeah, I always wanted to come across as the happy-go-lucky, carefree person that didn't have any issues and nothing bothered me, you know? Like, life's too short. YOLO, you know? Yeah, that catches up with you real quick. So try not to do that. I mean, obviously, everyone deals with stuff in their own way. And who am I to tell you what to do and not do? But from experience, don't. Because it catches up with you.
There are plenty of people out there who are deeply, deeply depressed who can still laugh and make jokes and be charismatic and come across in a certain way that are deeply depressed. People are just very good at hiding that part of them because it makes people uncomfortable.
See, I did it not because I thought I'd make people uncomfortable. I did it because I wanted to be normal. As someone that does not embrace normal, I love unique people and people that are different. I relate to those types of people more than anything. It's weird that I just wanted to be perceived as normal, you know? Like that it's just not me. So I don't know why I try to be like that. And for me, and I'm sure a lot of other people that have mental health issues, I use humour as a coping mechanism. So I will always make jokes about the deepest, darkest things, you know, that I go through or whatever. Obviously not on an offensive level, but, you know, like, oh, this is so fucked up, but I'll say it. I sometimes joke about the fact that my mum's dead, you know? Like, I feel awful saying it, but it's the only way I can cope with it. It's just the best way for me to deal with things like that. And just to, you know, laugh about things, because there's that saying, if you don't laugh, you'll cry, right? So I've always lived by that.
This doctor was very thorough.
That's good.
She like did every test under the sun. So like I am very appreciative of that. She checked like everything and my levels were completely fine. So it still doesn't really make sense.
I'm glad they found a doctor that was a lot more thorough and sounds a bit more caring, you know? That's always good. It's kind of like the light at the end of the tunnel or what have you, to come across someone that actually gives a crap.
She suggested I go to a dermatologist. So I went to the dermatologist. The dermatologist looked at it and was like, oh, appears like there's nothing wrong with it. I was like, did I just pay $200 for you to tell me there's nothing wrong with it? I don't fucking believe that. And I was just like, are you sure it's not scarred? And she's like, no, that's not scarring. I'm like, it's really raised though. She's like, oh, it doesn't appear to be scarring to me. And that's when I just like lost all hope.
Obviously from the pictures that we saw earlier of the tattoo, they weren't like the best of quality. That's not like me being shady or anything, but they weren't the best of quality to see any scarring, so I wouldn't know. But if they're saying that it's raised, that's a cause for concern for me. And that also leads me back to my theory of the fact that the tattoo artist was probably pretty heavy-handed. And the fact that the dermatologist was so blasé, you know, like, I've paid to be here and for you to see, like, can you take a good look at it? Could you help me in any way you can?
So from then I just kind of gave up and I just tried to deal with it on my own. Using like Voltaren cream has been my lifesaver. My original doctor was like, yeah, let's do an MRI. So, but of your brain, because it could be MS. Because of the numbness and like brain fog and stuff. So that was terrifying, being tested for MS, especially terrifying because I already have an autoimmune like condition and MS is one as well. That was so terrifying. You know, I knew I already had a condition that when you have one autoimmune condition, you can like get another one. Like it is, I think, a lot more likely. Like my sister has Hashimoto's, but she also has diabetes type 1, which is also an autoimmune condition. So like they can come in pairs. But then the lady doctor was like, I think you have rheumatoid arthritis because your hands are fucked up. I was like, great, everyone's just like naming all these conditions.
That would terrify me to no end, to have all of these doctors telling me so many different things or saying, oh, no, that looks normal, kind of making me feel like I'm a bit insane. I feel like they're not getting any answers or anything that's close to what could be wrong. Sounds freaking exhausting.
So at this point, like the naturopath, which medicine was no longer doing anything. Like I thought it did for a few days. It might have just been placebo or something because I felt like my brain was becoming clearer. The day that I went into that MRI, I realized that I really, really wasn't okay because it's very claustrophobic and I am a bit claustrophobic, but I also just was like, I don't even know what I'm doing. Like where am I, what's happening? And I felt really, really out of it.
Oh God, that's awful.
So I got acupuncture. I'd get it for itching some days and then I'd get it for pain other days. And they were asking like things about like where pain was and then like, I guess, mental health wise questions about that stuff as well. And I remember explaining to them, I was like, I just kind of feel really foggy and like I'm not like really here.
Oh, I have had that feeling a handful of times in my life and it is terrifying. It's so scary when it happens. The first time I ever had that, I was 10 or 11 years old. Mine's definitely due to anxiety and what have you. I was in the school playground. I was talking to one of the tallest girls in my year at the time. I remember looking at her thinking, I don't feel like I'm actually here right now. Like, she's talking and I'm hearing it, but I can't make sense of it. Like, I just don't feel like I'm in my own body right now. I feel like my brain is separate to my body. And it was such a weird and bizarre feeling. You just feel like you're in another dimension. If you've ever had derealization or depersonalization, then you'll obviously understand. But I've had that feeling. And not many times in my life, again, if I'm under a lot of emotional stress or anxiety, it does and can pop up here and there, but it's not something I struggle with all the freaking time, thankfully.
And I know they would have been like, what? I know that's what they would think, because they're like, oh, okay. So, and like they'd ask more questions into it, and I was just like, I honestly just don't know how to explain it, but I feel like I'm like not really here. But I know what it's called now. It's called depersonalization.
Yes. Yeah, that's it. And if you don't know about it or you've never experienced it and you say to someone, I don't feel like I'm actually here right now, the majority of people will be like, what are you talking about? I'm sorry, my stomach is rumbling, something chronic right now.
It says, depersonalization, derealization disorder occurs when you persistently or repeatedly have the feeling that you're observing yourself from outside your body, or you have a sense that things around you aren't real, or both. That describes it, but like to actually feel it is a different thing. Because I don't feel like I was like playing a video game of myself and I'm like, what, like physically actually watching myself walk around. It wasn't like that. It was just like, I was in my head, but it felt like I wasn't.
It's really, really hard to explain. And I understand what they're saying because I've been there, I've felt it. But to explain it to like a normie or whatever, it's like, it's hard. But I get it.
For anyone who experiences like any kind of symptoms of any kind of condition, mental illness, physical condition, no matter what, when you find out like what something is, it takes off like a huge stress. You're finally like, okay, I can understand this better, I can manage it better.
Oh my gosh, I can't even... Oh, this was me when I finally come across something that explained everything that I go through when it comes to my RCPD. I can't even begin to tell you the relief and the aha moment. It blew my mind because I'd been living with this my whole life and there was never any answers because I would Google it from time to time, but RCPD, the condition that I have now that's kind of turned into a chronic illness, didn't have a name until 2019. So I went through 29 years of having something and not knowing what the hell it was, and you know, no one ever understanding me or being like, well, that sounds made up or that sounds fake, and people were like, you can't burp, okay, that sounds like it's not a big deal, but it's a miserable existence and I have so many side effects because of it. And you know, I've had one treatment which didn't work that well at all, so I will be getting another one, fingers crossed it does something. But yeah, that aha moment of being like, wow, you know, there's a name for this, and you mean there's other people out there that know what this feels like. You feel like you're not so alone, even though the people around you don't know what you're probably going through and how you feel. It still is nice to know that there's at least someone out there that knows how you feel, you know?
Not to mention the pain is constant through all this. Like the pain never went away. And I was having numbness every single day, pain, burning. The burning changed from what it was when I would like put the ointments on my back. It then sort of turned more into just a burning from existing. The itching was still really intense as well. For the most part, I wasn't even wearing shirts. Like, and this is in winter. Not that winter in Brisbane is that cold, but like, I'm always cold, so I was cold. I would literally just wear bikinis so that nothing was really touching my back, and then I would wear like hoodies on backwards so that like it wouldn't touch my back. That's what I was wearing like always. And then obviously when I had to go places, I would have to wear a shirt.
The fact that they felt more comfortable with no clothes on just to me says everything, you know? Like, okay, so yeah, it's nice to be free sometimes and naked and in your birthday suit or whatever, but the fact that that's the only time they could feel some kind of relief or some kind of comfortability, and after however many months this has been since they've got the tattoo, I just can't imagine. I cannot imagine pain from a tattoo going on longer than like 3-4 weeks after you've had the tattoo done. That just seems impossible to me. That's just unheard of, you know?
I was having a really bad time concentrating, and that was really hard because I was in my last like semester of uni, and I was like, I'm gonna fail everything because I can't even concentrate for more than like a minute at a time. That sounds like so lazy, and I sound like I'm being so over the top with it, but like I could not focus. I could not concentrate. I can't even begin to explain it. It just like, I would try, and I would get so upset because I wanted to do these things. I wanted to accomplish things and I wanted to do well, and I couldn't because like my brain wouldn't allow it.
Again, I relate so hard. I mean, I've always struggled with concentration, especially like in school and when I was a kid. I just struggled with it, and my concentration skills have been so much worse again as I've got older and as my mental health has just been like up, down, up, down. And it's so freaking frustrating when, you know, you're trying to enjoy something, trying to watch something, trying to work on something, and you just cannot. Your brain is like, not today, sis. We're not doing this today. I am not feeling it. We are not doing it. No, absolutely not. The only thing you're going to have concentration for is mind-numbingly trashy TV because not much is going on and it's, you know, good background noise, or, you know, scrolling through so many different social media apps. That's literally some days how I spend my life. Freaking reality TV is on in the background and I'm on my phone switching from TikTok to Instagram to Twitter because I cannot concentrate on one thing for more than like 30 seconds. So freaking frustrating. Especially when you know you've got some video prep to do, or you've got to clean the house or socialise, I don't know, and your brain's just like, no, not today, no, can't be bothered. So you're just like, oh, just give me a day, please, just give me a day. Luckily, I do have good days, because if I didn't have good days, I wouldn't be making content, I wouldn't be uploading videos, you know?
From what I've read and what my psychist told me is that like pain is very closely linked. It takes such a toll on your mental, like energy and mental health, that a lot of people tend to get depressed when they're in chronic pain. Chronic pain is pain that's consistent pain for longer than 3 to 6 months. And mine absolutely has been that. The first bout of pain definitely lasted a year.
A year? They went through this intense pain because of this tattoo for a year. A year? I can't get over that. A year after having a tattoo, they're still in pain because of it. I just cannot fathom.
I was still very depressed for months and months and months, but I have been off the antidepressants for a year now, which is amazing. But I do have bouts of like, it definitely feels like I could be slipping back into it again, especially when the pain is really high. The pain has not gone away.
So we're 3 years in now and they're still having this pain, whatever it may be, whatever has set it off. That's just a lot. That's a lot to go through. So much. And I'm glad that antidepressants helped them a little bit and they've like come off of them. I'm still on mine, but I'm very bad with mine, and I obviously don't promote this, but again, this is what depression and mental health things do to you. But I can never say it's siltepram or however you say it, I don't know. I pretty much only take mine at this point when the withdrawal effects happen, because it has never done anything for me and I've just been, I guess, too lazy or unmotivated to do anything about it. Whether that is up my dose or switch to another one, I pretty much take it as soon as I get the brain zaps. I'm sure if you've ever taken antidepressants or whatever, you will maybe know what the brain zaps are, but it's basically like this electric feeling in your brain, kind of like you've been zapped by lightning, and it makes you go a bit like, you don't have a physical reaction, but your brain kind of just like contracts or something, I don't know. And sometimes it feels like I'm on like a boat or what have you. But yeah, I know like antidepressants and what have you can be super helpful if you get the right dose or the right one. And this is kind of inspiring me, listening to their story, to do something about it, you know, especially as I have been feeling a lot worse mentally since becoming chronically ill and what have you. So yeah, that's kind of inspiring. I feel somewhat motivated to just try at it, you know, because I've always had the, okay, well, you know, it hasn't worked for me, so whatever, what's the point kind of vibe towards them.
The pain definitely improved for a very, very long time. I definitely had times where the pain would go away for, you know, a few months at a time.
Okay, that's good. I'm glad that they've had a break here and there from it and it hasn't been constant 3 years. They've had, you know, some moments there where they've had some kind of freedom from it, which is great. And that gives me a sense of relief that they haven't been suffering, you know, non-stop. I mean, they had a year where they were, but I guess it's a bit more patchy now, you know? But that then leads me to think, like, what the hell is this? Because if my theory of the ink being crappy and the art is being heavy-handed, then the ink has gone deeper than it ever should have, then surely that would be a constant thing that would be going on and on and on and on and on, right? It wouldn't be a patchy thing. So that makes me think, is it nerve damage? Is something happened within like the lymph node area? I don't know. This is, oh.
Sometimes I feel it's linked to stress.
Okay.
When it flares up. I don't know. Is that something anyone else has experienced?
I personally have never experienced anything like this. I've never had something flare up due to stress at all. Like I say, I've got chronic illness, but it's every single day. I don't get a break from it. Nothing. The only thing that sets me off my chronic illness is when I talk too much. Like I'm starting to feel the symptoms of my RCPD now because I've been talking for a lifetime. And if I drink something, haven't had a drink yet today, or if I eat something. So my chronic illness isn't stress related or anything.
Basically, if anyone were to feel it, it's like braille, but like way thicker. I'll try and show you pictures of like how raised it is. I really don't want to show this because honestly, every single time someone like not someone new, but like, you know, a friend or something, I asked them to put like sunscreen on my back or something for it. I hate it anyway. It always sickened me to put sunscreen on someone or for someone to put sunscreen on me. It's sick. I fucking hate it. It's gross. But I also want to be sun safe, okay? Every single time, without a doubt, someone goes, oh, this tattoo's so raised. Yeah, Oh, really? I didn't realize. I've just lived with it on my back for 3 years and I had no fucking idea it was that raised. Why do I even stay friends with these people?
Oh gosh, I'm going to do something that they hate, but that does look incredibly scarred. That looks scarred to me. I know a dermatologist has said to them that it isn't, but that does look scarred. It looks like there's been a lot of trauma there. That artist was definitely, like my theory from earlier, that artist was definitely very, very heavy-handed. Like that looks like the artist literally carved that. It kind of looks like scarification to me. But apologies to them for, you know, mentioning the fact that it is scarred and raised, but for a content side of thing, that's why I've mentioned it.
I found out the artist is very heavy-handed. My friend's friend got tattooed by this artist and said that the artist was very heavy-handed. And I completely agree with that, and it makes a lot of sense. As to why it hurts so much is because the artist was being so heavy-handed and pushing down so hard. Obviously, it's going to hurt so much more if someone's doing that.
Okay, so that kind of validates my theory of this tattoo artist being heavy-handed. And I'm glad that they've said that, but I'm not glad that they've been through that. I've been super lucky, and I don't think I've personally been tattooed by an artist that is heavy-handed. I don't think so anyway. I have one blowout from this tattoo here. To be honest, well, I'm wearing fake tan, so you can't see the blowout anymore. And the blowout from this tattoo spread out into this arm area, but I feel like it's faded quite a bit. I mean, this tattoo is 10 years old at this point, so. But even when I got this, I don't think I ever felt like the artist that did this was heavy-handed. Like, it just felt normal to me. I just was unlucky and got a blowout. But yeah, heavy-handed tattoo artists, ugh. Again, not experienced it, but from people I know that have experienced heavy-handed tattoo artists, they're not fun. It's not pleasant. I don't know why there are artists out there like that. I guess they really want to get that colour in and that line work in and they want it to be bold. But you're damaging your clients and doing stuff like this. Like, this person's been in pain for like 3 years. Like, it needs to be stopped. This artist, I don't know if they're still tattooing or what have you, but this artist needs to know that being heavy-handed is not good and you need to be more gentle and kinder to your clients. You don't need to be digging in. Like, this isn't a wood carving. You know, the machine will do the work for you.
The kind of heavy-handed I'm thinking to cause that kind of thick scarring, like, it just seems like I was like cut like with the needle. Like, it wasn't just like tattooing, it was like digging in and like cutting into my skin. That's the only thing that I can really think of as to why it would have reacted like that and felt like that.
I'm wondering if there was a lot of blood involved within this tattooing process. Obviously, to bleed a little bit is completely normal, but I feel like if they've gone so deep, was there like a lot of blood involved in these tattoo sessions? Because that could be a big indicator as well as to how deep this artist went. Like, there's definitely trauma there within the skin, so I'd imagine maybe, possibly, I don't know, but That must have been one hell of a session. I mean, they did say earlier that it was a super painful tattoo, but oh God. Oh, it just makes my spine tingle thinking about it.
Speaking to other tattoo artists about it, like having worked in tattoo shops, I've asked some of the artists. I asked one of the artists who specializes in Oriental. I know it's different, but it also has like that thick black line work. And he was like, I showed him and he felt it. And he was like, what did he use to tattoo your back? And I was like, it was a rotary machine. And he's like, yeah, don't fucking use that on an area that it's just such a soft, like sensitive area. He's like, you just don't, like, you don't need that for that kind of area. You don't use a rotary machine on a back because you can just, it'll just like rip it up. I'm like, great, makes complete sense. And he was like, this artist has scarred you really bad. Like, it's so scarred.
Oh gosh, if I was the artist that did this back tattoo and I'd known, again, that this client has been through so much and I'd scarred them so badly, I wouldn't know what to do with myself. I would feel so incredibly guilty for doing this to someone. And from the interaction that this person has said that they've had with the artist, you know, with them being like, oh yeah, you know, it's nothing, it looks fine, whatever, just brushing over it. It seems like they just don't have a care in the world, and that is so concerning to me because there is no place for tattoo artists that have so little concern for their clients. There really isn't. I've obviously recently made videos about Tattoo Gate and scam tattoo artists, and it just terrifies me that there is all of these tattoo artists out there that just do not give a crap. Like, you are in the wrong industry. You have to. It should be number one priority of a tattoo artist that you give a crap about your tattoo clients, okay? Maybe sanitization first, then giving a crap about your clients, okay? But that's terrifying. And their tattoo looks amazing. They look like they're a good tattoo artist artistically, but customer service skills or whatever you want to call it, not good. Tattooing technique, also not good by the looks of things. As for the machine side of things, again, not a professional tattoo artist, I do know that rotary machines are a bit more intense and they do have a bit more of a punch to them. But other than that, I don't know much about them.
Had another artist who was tattooing me, the artist who actually did all this like black work, because I was like, maybe I can ask someone who like is like specializes in black work. I think it's really badly scarred. Like, what do you think? Like, what's your like opinion on it, kind of thing? She was like, oh no, definitely very scarred. Like, it's definitely super raised. I can see it like just from like here where I am. And then she told me a story about how one of her tattoos, she was like, it was quite a small tattoo, but she said it was really raised and like it would flare up in like the heat and get itchy and stuff like that. And I didn't mention that there are a lot of people's tattoos that get itchy and raised in the heat, but mine doesn't do that. It's not a heat or a cold or anything thing. It doesn't get worse in summer.
I can completely see what they're going through is completely different to the sort of hot, itchy tattoo sensation. I get it sometimes on my traditional arm in the heat. The line work becomes a teeny little bit raised and it gets a little bit itchy. That's pretty normal. I have had questions about that before, but I feel like a lot of people can relate to that. But what they're going through is completely different, because when you get that itchy, you know, heat tattoo raising situation, it's not painful. Well, not for me anyway.
Anyway, she was saying she had one that just flared up when it was hot. She said she cut into it and was able to squeeze the ink out.
I'm sorry. I'm what? How can you just cut into a tattoo and then squeeze the ink out? What the hell? What?
Because it wasn't like fully like settled in kind of thing.
Okay.
She's like, potentially yours is literally just sitting under your skin. It hasn't really like settled and it's just sitting there, which I don't know if that's a thing or not, but she was like, I cut it and squeezed the ink out. I was like, there is no way in hell I'm doing that to my entire back. Like, it would be so much worse than it is now if I were to do that. So I don't really think that's an option for me, but I do get where she's coming from, that it could be something where it's just like not settled and it just will never, my body just hasn't accepted it, it doesn't want to, and it's just sitting there, which is kind of terrifying because I don't know what to do then either.
Wow. I am gobsmacked at this. I mean, is it a possibility? Could your body kind of just like reject a tattoo like that? But then surely you would have like the infection symptoms. if your body sort of rejects something. But then would it be like when you reject a piercing? Like, I can't really have surface piercing, so when I was younger I had my navel belly button pierced a few times and it would always start to migrate. So is that what's happening here? Maybe, possibly. But then surely they would have had issues with other tattoos, so it has to be something to do with what the tattoo artist did or used, or the technique that they've done, because they've never had any other issues with any other tattoos that we know of anyway. I mean, for how big their tattoo is, I mean, I've never even heard of this, but like, say they wanted to try this whole cutting the tattoo open to see what would happen. One, where do you get that done? Okay, what medical professional offers that? You'd probably have to go to this tattoo artist that they're talking about to get them to do it. But then, is that safe? No, probably not. But it could maybe be worth trying it on a small area of the tattoo to see what would happen. But then, like, again, where do you go for this? This whole thing is just blowing my dang mind. I never thought I would watch a video like this or someone talk about a tattoo like this ever. Also, what made this tattoo artist cut their tattoo? Like, what made them think that if they cut open this tattoo, what did they think would happen? Like, why did they think to do that? And is this a known thing and I don't know about it? I've never heard of someone cutting a tattoo to get rid of ink that's in there just sitting there.
And then I even asked a laser place. It's not that I hate the tattoo. I don't hate it. I think it's a very beautiful tattoo. I like the design. I like what it looks like, but I don't like how it feels. And that it has obstructed and fucking ruined my whole life. And to be completely honest, this just pissed me off what they said. Like, explained just like briefly the situation kind of thing. I'm like, you know, I have a raised tattoo. It aches and it gets itchy. It's basically the entirety of my whole back. I've just got a small piece in the center of my upper back. I would say 3/4 of my back is covered in this tattoo. She's like, yeah, no worries. All good, girl. All good. Just send me through some pics, talking that fucking annoying voice.
I love their sarcasm and like sense of humour so much. But going down the laser route, even on just like a small part of the tattoo, just to see what would happen and how it would feel like, seems like a good logical thing to me. Like, that's probably a route I would go down if I was in this situation. If everything else has failed, I can't get any, you know, medical diagnosis as to what I'm going through, just to see if it helps with anything in any way. I don't know, but I understand the logic.
And then I send the picture and the response was literally, whoa, that's a lot bigger than I expected. What would you say 3/4 of a back looks like? I'd say a back is a pretty large space. I don't know what you expected, how little a person I was to be. Like, what, dog? I was just like, whatever. I'm just like, I'm done. Like, every single place I try to get some sort of help or some sort of advice from, it's just met with a dead end that I'm like, well, they clearly can't help me. So, like, what's the point?
Oh, it sucks that they feel so discouraged by that. I mean, that was a pretty crappy response, to be honest with you. I don't know, it just seemed really unprofessional. So I could understand the frustration and being like, oh, do you know what? Forget it. I'm not dealing with this anymore. Like, I get it. I totally understand that. I do hope maybe in the future that they maybe do try the laser with obviously another company or whatever, because I feel like that could be maybe worth it, just to see, like a patch test, just to see what would happen. It could make things worse. Who knows? That's why I would say do a small bit. When you're feeling so defeated already, the littlest things can just make you feel like, oh, screw it, I don't care anymore. Like, what's the point? I feel that so much.
It's definitely not as itchy as it used to be. The itching doesn't really occur anymore. The itching only occurs if, like, it's irritated by some sort of clothing or some sort of like product I've put on it. That's when the itching can happen. And if I scratch it, it fucking hurts so much.
There's definitely scarring there, without a doubt. I don't know if any of you have ever itched a scar, but when it's like so sensitive and tender, it hurts 10 times more. It's not fun, but I'm glad that the itching has subsided for them a bit.
I actually got an MRI on my neck. I didn't ask for this, but because of the numb arms, one of the doctors got me to get one of those, and it didn't show anything for why, because that's where your arms, the numbness would only happen in the neck. That's why it would occur. So they checked that, and I haven't got any kind of pinched disc or anything.
Oh, wow. Okay. I mean, they are really trying absolutely everything here. And the thing is, if it was like a pinched disc or a pinched nerve, there would be other symptoms of that. I've had a trapped nerve in my neck and the pain is excruciating. So I feel like if they were having something like that, they would have, you know, nerve pain or muscle pain or what have you, but they're just having like this numbness. It's an array of symptoms.
Pain is definitely a lot better than it was. However, it still just like flares up whenever. Like there's not really a rhyme or reason as to why. I kind of try and work it out when it happens. And if I sit in one spot for too long, it aches. And if I sit on the floor, it aches and it hurts. If I lay on my back, I can't lay on my back anymore. Like I just cannot do that because I still get numb arms. Like that still happens all the time.
What is this? Like, how has a tattoo created this? Like, I still cannot think of anything logical, because even if my silly theory of dodgy ink, heavy-handed scarring, the ink is sitting in a place where it shouldn't be sitting, that still does not equate numbness and not being able to sit in certain positions unless you sit in a certain type of way, you're stretching something and it's aggravating it. But like, oh, this just does not make sense. I truly hope there is someone out there that can help them with this and give them an answer. This would drive me insane because everything that would normally make sense is not making sense. There's nothing here that screams what normally goes wrong with a tattoo, which is infections and what have you.
The last, like, I just call them flare-ups because I don't know what else to call it. It started in January and it's still ongoing until now, so it's May
5
now.
months.
Some days are really painful and other days aren't as bad, but I guess that's kind of just like chronic pain for you.
5 months of going through unexplainable pain with no answers. And it's just the fact that this tattoo is so big and it takes up such a big part of them. You know, if you think about it, you know, your back is pretty big. It's the core of your body. There is nothing worse than having pain on your back or stomach. Like just this region, because I deal with a lot of stomach issues, and it's miserable because it's in the like the epicenter of your whole body. Like if it was like a small tattoo on their ankle or their arm or something, I feel like it would still be awful, obviously, but it would probably be a bit more manageable. But just because of the location of it and the size of it, ooh.
I've thought about so many things that I could have done differently, specifically getting the tattoo, but also people very close to me have sort of just been like, well, you shouldn't have got it. Yeah, well, you got the tattoo. You did this to yourself.
Stop it. Stop it right now. No, we do not victim blame in 2023. Absolutely freaking not. Where is people's empathy? I would never dream of saying that to my best friend if they were going through this. And I know for a fact my best friend would never say anything like that to me. Because how are you meant to know? How do you predict something like this happening? You do not. They did everything by the book that I will always promote. They went to a tattoo studio, a reputable one. They went to a tattoo artist with 15 years experience. How were they meant to know that this artist was like heavy-handed or was going to severely hurt them? You don't know these things, but the best you can do is your research, and that's what they did. So they weren't to know this was going to happen. And like I've said, I've never heard of anything like this. The worst I've ever heard of when it comes to a tattoo going wrong is an infection, and then that sometimes can lead to sepsis. That's like the worst of the worst thing that I've ever heard of happening with a tattoo. And, you know, obviously sepsis is terrible, but this is going on forever and ever. The fact that their friends aren't just being like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry you're going through this. Is there anything I can do to help? I'm sorry you're feeling this way. I wouldn't dream of being like, well, it's your fault, because they've done everything they should have. It's not like this person went to a dodgy tattoo artist in the back alley of somewhere and, you know, they were tattooed by a spoon, you know? And even so, obviously I don't agree with that. You should be getting tattooed in a back alley by a spoon. But even so, it comes to a point where this person has suffered enough. You don't need to be pointing fingers and being like, well, it's your fault, la 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 la. Like, they're clearly suffering. You know, this isn't something minor and something you would see in my TikTok reaction series, you know, like where people are tattooing themselves stupidly, like they did everything. Oh my God, that's awful.
And it's like, yeah, but like also, I did this thing to myself that is a very common practice. Thousands of people get tattooed every single day. It's such a common practice, and this is such a rare thing to happen. So rare that I can't even find anything on the internet about people having this experience.
And the thing is, the first place you will find someone mentioning something like this is the internet. Again, like I've said, I've made content for 8 years and I've never seen anything like this. So yeah, what they've gone through is so incredibly rare. I mean, this might be a one-off case.
And this is, I guess, why I also wanted to talk about this, because if I can find anyone else out there who has experienced something like this, it would be so helpful if, like, there are people, because I feel so alone in this, as if I'm making all this up and no one believes me.
Okay, well, first of all, I fully believe you and I am willing to listen to you any day or time or whatever. I just wish I could offer solutions or help in any way. And I'm glad I've reacted to this video just in hopes that maybe someone watching this can help them in some way. You know, let's get this out there. Let's hope and pray that this video or their video gets in the right hands and there is some answers somewhere.
Because that's the vibe I get often when I tell people about this, that it's just like, it can't be that bad. Like, surely it's not that bad. That pisses me off when people tell me like, you shouldn't have done it. Yeah, I shouldn't have done it. So should a lot of us have not done a lot of things in our lives. But look, it happened and it's here now and this is what I have to live with, and I have to live with this terrible mistake. But I didn't think it was a mistake.
First of all, I relate to the when you tell someone about it and then someone's like, I can't be that bad. I get that all the freaking time. Because my chronic illness or disorder or whatever you want to call it is very rare. A lot of times people are like, oh, that sounds made up, or it doesn't sound as bad as it is, or, you know, you're just being dramatic or whatever. And it's just like, unless you go through something and you're standing in my shoes or in this person's shoes, you don't get to say what is bad and what is not. Okay, it's not your place to say anything. Just take what someone is saying. If someone's telling you they're in a lot of pain or they're going through something, don't try and take that away from them and be like, oh, that don't sound that bad, or oh, I could handle that better. You will not know until you're in that person's body or you go through what they're going through. And the fact that people have said, oh, you shouldn't do it, and then they are saying, well, yeah, maybe I shouldn't have done it. No, at the time when they booked the tattoo and went to their appointment, they were probably so excited and happy about the fact that they were getting this tattoo that they really wanted. And, you know, it's something that they did want. So in my opinion, they very much should have done it. And I'm sure, without a doubt, if they knew that this tattoo would lead them down this path, of course, they would not have got the tattoo. It's not like they chose to feel like this. It's not like they chose to have this mystery illness. You know, it's so stupid when people are like, well, it's your fault. Do you really, really think they chose this life? Come on now. How are people this stupid?
Because I've been tattooed many times before and I've been tattooed after. After a while, I realized that I couldn't live in fear of that situation forever, and I knew it wasn't common, and I knew it wasn't something that would happen again, and it hasn't happened again. None of my other tattoos have ever felt like this. I've been tattooed since, with black work as well, and it doesn't do that. This black work here might do a little bit of the itching in the heat. That's the only thing it does. Slightly, very slightly.
Yeah, so that's normal. Props to them for continuing to get tattooed, because I know for a fact I would have been terrified of going through it again. They were tattooed before the tattoo that caused the issue without having issues, and now they've been tattooed again after and they've not had any issues apart from the normal, you know, heat itchiness that a lot of people do get anyway. But I honestly am so proud of them for continuing to get tattooed. They didn't get scared of it or whatever. That takes so much courage, and yeah, that's awesome.
Didn't plan on this happening. It's not like I sought out somewhere that was dodgy and then was surprised when something dodgy happened. No! Why do you think I'm so confused? Everyone has their checklist. They go, oh, well, you did this wrong and you did this wrong and you did this wrong. And I'm like, didn't do any of those things. So please explain to me. Please, go ahead. Explain to me what I did wrong then, because I would love to know.
Nothing. Honestly, there is nothing that they did wrong. Not one thing. And I am the first person, as you know from my content, I'm the first person to call out someone for doing something wrong when it comes to tattooing. It's mainly people who tattoo themselves on their bedroom floor or whatever, but I am the first person that will say, oh, this is a red flag, this is wrong, this is where you fucked up. There is not one section of this video that I've watched so far that I've been like, oh, hang on, that's a bit dodge. The only dodginess I've got so far is from the tattoo artist, because they were a bit like, you know, blasé about the whole thing and didn't seem to care. But that's not this person's fault at all.
I know there'll be people on here that will be loving this story and fucking eat it up. I'm sure it is a wonderful story to hear how badly I fucked up on like a body modification, considering like my whole thing is me like going, why the fuck did you do that to people doing stupid shit with body modifications? Pretty ironic, right? Very, very foony.
It's one of those things. They do make like content that I kind of make, like reaction videos to, you know, piercings going wrong or whatever. I mean, I don't do piercing content, it's tattoos, but the fact that they are a professional piercer and they make piercing content, tattoo content, with that comes knowledge. You know, you have to research for your job, of course. Again, I fully trust that they did everything in their power to make sure that they did everything right when it comes to aftercare and all of that. I fully believe it's got nothing to do with aftercare. The problems happened as soon as the tattoo started going into the skin, kind of thing. And again, I cannot stress this enough. They said, I fucked up. You did not fuck up.
I feel like I'm the perfect example of tattoos ruining lives. I know most people are saying it in terms of like, they're ruining your life because it's going to be there forever and you can't take it back, and people will discriminate against you and you won't get jobs, etc., etc. But like, I've felt it tenfold of like, no, this will actually ruin your life.
Again, like they said, the only time I've heard of a tattoo ruining someone's life is because, you know, it's a visible one or it's gang related. I've never heard of someone becoming chronically in pain or unwell because of a tattoo. Never. So how are you meant to know that that's a thing? You don't. It's unheard of.
I had way bigger aspirations and this has just like held me back so much. But I mean, like, I'm glad I can sit here today, and I am here today, because there were some really low moments where I was like, I can't keep doing this. What is the point in living every single day in absolute agony? What is the point?
I feel that in my freaking soul. I feel that in my chest. Again, as someone that is chronically ill, which obviously I'm not going through the same thing as them, but having your body betray you is exhausting, and you do have moments of like, what's the point? Am I gonna live my life like this every day for the rest of my life? What do? You feel so helpless in these situations.
I've come completely clear out of the depersonalization now. Like, once I started taking the antidepressants, it would have been a few months in though. I guess once the antidepressants started taking their effect and they started working, that's when the depersonalization like slipped away.
That's good. It kind of does sound like they're not on the road to recovery, because, you know, they have flare-ups. They're going through one at the moment. But I'm just glad that, you know, their mental health struggles are slowly, increasingly getting better. Sometimes when you go through something like this, it's something that stays with you forever, or it's something that comes back every now and then. But for now, I'm so glad that they're having a moment, at least, of peace with that side of things.
I know I have it so much better than most people in the world. I get that, and I am grateful.
I'm about to say what so many people have said to me when I have said that exact sentence. People tell me off for saying that. But just because there are people out there that have it worse off than you, doesn't mean what you're going through is not bad or terrible or affecting your life in ways that you can never explain.
I guess to sum up, I will say that I don't look into fixing it anymore. I just look into living with it, because I find that the more I look into fixing it, it just stresses me out, because I'm like, there's nothing I can do, and I find out there's another thing that's wrong, or I find out that something could be wrong with me, and then like I freak out. So I just like deal with the pain for the months and then just hope that it like subsides away at some point.
I get that 100%. I would be exhausted with the whole thing as well, like well and truly. I do hope though that somewhere out there someone has an answer for them and that can help them in some way, even though they're kind of just like, you know what, I'm over it, I'm just dealing with it as it is. But maybe there will be a point in their life where something clicks and they're like, wait, okay, so it could be this, and this is the treatment for this, and then they feel like they could try that, and then it makes things a little bit better or improves things a lot. I hope there's that moment in their life at some point, or I just hope that as time goes on, whatever it is that's happening slowly decreases, like the flare-ups become less frequent and not as long, and it kind of just evaporates from them, hopefully. Okay, so that's pretty much the end of the video. Well, I have been recording for like 3 hours at this point, so hopefully I can cut this video down as much as possible, but I want to leave in as much information as possible as well, because I don't want to take away their voice or what have you. But yeah, please go and show them some love. I will leave relative links down below to this video, to their channel, to their Instagram and all of that. Go and show them some love, send them some kind messages, and you know, go and watch their other videos and what have you. Let's support them as much as we most possibly can in this moment. But yeah, okay, my mouth needs a rest. I need to eat something. I need to drink something. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, and until my next video, bye.